Hello, glad you could join us. I am here with Graham Hussey, and we are in part 2 of session 4 on all things we need to know about development of our property. We had an amazing session with Rodney Wilt, who's a market developer from Thea Partners, and he answered many of the questions on churches who are considering development. Graham is going to talk to us today about affordable housing. Graham, just to introduce him a little bit, he is the president of CATCO, a nonprofit real estate development corporation that focuses on social purpose real estate. He also provides consulting in the Ottawa area and beyond. Graham, it's great to have you with us today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I have so many questions. Let's just dive right in. A church board is thinking about affordable housing, and often what they do is they have this laundry list of objectives. Mm-hmm. They want to do affordable housing. They want to keep the parking lot. They want financial sustainability. They have kind of this extensive list of things. And you and I know they can't do all the things. Where do you say that they should start when they consider the question of, should we do affordable housing or not?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm happy to be here, first of all. And I think at the beginning when we work with faith groups, part of it is about, just like your program, kind of learning the basics and yes. Trying to understand what are often some, widely used terms that mean different things to different people. So I think the first place to start is what is affordable housing?
Yes.
Which is different things to different people.
Which is my second question, but we could start there.
Well, I think for the affordable housing group, one of the places to start is when they say affordable housing, what do they mean?
What do you
as
mean?
A group? Yeah. And so usually when people use the word affordable housing, what they mean is housing that isn't otherwise available on the market.
Right.
And
Yes.
Often people will relate it to both the level of affordability, whether that's the rent you pay or the amount you pay to purchase, and whether a demographic priority or not. So It might be supportive housing for women, or it might be for families or youth, or it might be for a general tenancy.
Good. So how do you respond when churches say they want affordable housing and a revenue stream?
Yeah, well, I think that's something that really you have to kind of dive into a bit into the details. But in general, how I see it is that if you're really focused on financial viability or a revenue stream, and that's your number one priority, then you're probably going to look at market housing as the option or market real estate. And if you're looking to create something that is more focused on a mission and affordable side of it, then you're kind of looking to partner with a nonprofit group.
Yeah, and I think that's where churches find this tension, where they are wanting to do missional social purpose real estate. Yep. They want to leave some sense of, they have a vision and a mission in which they want to serve the community, the neighborhoods that they're in. As we all know, churches are struggling in terms of meeting the budgets. They carry this asset that may be able to help them or sustain them longer. So you do weigh this tension that they have on how do we manage that, and really them creating an objective around what is your first priority. Is it financial sustainability? Is it mission or legacy? And then from there, starting that conversation. Is that what you would say would be?
Yes, and it doesn't mean that one can be without the other.
Right.
But at a high level, the basic, when you build affordable housing or market housing, often your costs are relatively the same.
For sure.
Really, the difference is the more support, whether it's from government or reduction in land values, the lower you can bring down that side of things, the more affordable you can make it. So when you're partnering to create affordable housing, what a church needs to know is that if they're looking to sell their land at a maximum market value, that will impact the level of affordability. If they sell it at a below market price, then that can kind of help enable it.
Right. So if the church has land, they put that in the deal at a lower than market price, then
that can kind of be the key to
unlocking affordability.
Yeah, and really, land.
Sense.
Every project you need land, money, and capacity, and affordable housing is no different. And so often having land is like the key to starting down that process, having that access. So
So can affordable housing pay for the new church facility?
It's a good question. Again, it's probably a maybe answer that's project specific, but just saying whether it's charging for land or trying to enable a new church facility in a redevelopment, those things impact the total costs.
Right.
And the more that the faith group is requiring from your partner, whether it's a nonprofit or not, the less affordable it's going to be.
Okay.
But sometimes what you can do is you find the right partner in the right set of circumstances. And in affordable housing, often if you're thinking about an apartment building where there might be amenity spaces or even commercial or market spaces with residential above, the nonprofit group wants that to help serve its tenants.
Yes. So it could be a mixed-use community hub type space that serves the...
Yeah, and you're just kind of using the space to its maximum every day of the week. Yeah.
How does a church go about deciding a market developer and nonprofit developer? How do they go about making that? Because again, any project is a marriage of sorts, and you get into that. What are some suggestions? And I guess you need to figure out again which route they're taking. But how do you decide on a developer?
Well, I think in what I do, which is help nonprofits create affordable housing, I think faith groups would probably have similar considerations. A lot of it is a value set. Like development will take 5 or 10 years.
Yep.
And so when you're looking to find a partner, nonprofit or market, it's trying to find somebody that you're going to have a good relationship with for that long period, which can be risky.
I'm so glad you say values.
Yeah.
Because there needs to be a values alignment. And so many churches, when asked, who are you, what's your identity, they're confused. Or they're basing their identity on what they were 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But when you live in the current reality of what church is today, what are your values? And then are those aligned to a development partner, whether that is market or affordable? And it's not that, market's bad and dirty. There are those. But there's also really, we call them developers with a conscience, who care about the neighborhood and care about the community, as is the same within the nonprofit affordable housing sector. So know who you are, know the values of which you carry, and then align those to a development partner. I love that.
Yeah, and I think churches ultimately are, in a lot of ways, community-based in specific neighborhoods. And so I think a big value set is wanting to have a partner that will have kind of the best interest of the broader neighborhood and community in it, which is not just delivering profit or even delivering affordability in the units. It's the construction and the process and making sure that the community is supportive of the project. Because I think a church doesn't want to do a project and kind of ruin or damage their relationship,
the reputation that they have in the community. And I think that's so important too. We say this a lot, that one of the outcomes that we're looking for is placemaking. And this relationship that we have within the neighborhood in which we're in, the built environment, in fact, impacts that, as does the way in which we engage in a process in listening to the community, the neighborhood, and what are the needs within this community. And is affordable housing the need here, or it may actually cause a lot of tension? How do you go about more of a mixed use where there's a mix of market and affordable? Is that something that you've seen happen where you partner with more of a for-profit developer? Is that something that is an option as well?
Absolutely. I think more and more it's becoming common to partner with a for-profit developer for a few different reasons. One is that the governments are requiring it, whether it's provincial governments as part of planning policies might require a certain amount of affordable housing in just new development.
Okay.
They often call
Right.
that inclusionary zoning.
Yep.
In Ottawa, for instance, there's a lot of government land that's being disposed of, and they
Yes.
put a priority on projects that will help create affordable housing. But a lot of times, these
Okay.
projects are so complex and expensive and risky. It's difficult for a not-for-profit to do
Yeah.
it on their own. So that's
Yeah.
where you kind of need the balance of the partnership between a market
Yes.
developer who can manage the complexity and the risk, and the
Love that.
not-for-profit who can kind of help deliver the mission.
Really helpful. So you have a church board member who's watching this, or maybe the whole board is watching this, and what would you say are some of the common mistakes churches make as they consider affordable housing or development on their site?
Um, I think when I meet with a lot of faith groups, what I hear is stories of them looking to create with myself, the discussions are mostly
Yes.
focused on affordable housing,
Yes.
but
Yes.
I think in general, what a market developer will hear is groups that have been thinking about doing a project for years and often kind of spinning
Yep.
their wheels
And they
and
can't make a decision.
not quite sure where to start.
Yes.
So I think where I would recommend they start is the same when the not-profit housing
Yep.
groups come and approach us, which is really start with what is your strategy or your plan, which evolves from your mission. So
Right. What are your
have-
objectives? What are your primary objectives?
That's right.
Is it
That's right.
financial sustainability? Is it mission? What level
Yeah,
are you
That's
willing
right.
to give and take on either
That's
of
right.
those?
and then to not think of themselves as the developer, so
Oh
to
my
speak,
gosh.
but to
Please
think
say
of
that one
themselves
more time.
to think of themselves.
not as the developer. So they're not going to the city.
They
They should not be calling
That's right.
CMHC. They
Yeah.
should not. So
Yeah, they might want to talk to their local counselor because they already have a relationship with
Yep.
them and say, we're
is this a
interested.
need in the neighborhood?
We're interested in doing something on our property. Do you think this is a need? Do you have any suggestions of people who might be good partners? But ultimately, start with what your mission is and what your high-level objectives are, and then based on those, look to identify partners who will help you achieve those objectives. So if it is financial, or affordable
So
housing, those are the
again-
groups you want to kind of approach next.
To those churches who are taking years, it doesn't need to take that long.
Mhm.
Clarify your objectives, know the values, then align those to a development partner.
Yeah. Churches usually, I find, when they meet with us, they think of themselves as like they might not say this, but they're in essence acting as if they're the developer.
Right,
They think of it
right.
as their project.
Right.
They're trying to figure out how to get it to pencil out in their own way.
Right.
And they're going
And again,
chatting with the city or talking to
they're
an
not
architect.
lawyers. They are not architects. They are not. Now they may have someone who is retired on the board, which is
very
always
common.
the most dangerous.
Yep.
Or an engineer or a construction. But again, when they sit there, they're not qualified to create the pro formas and do the work required to execute a project.
That's right.
What they need to focus on is, who are you
Mhm.
as a church living into your mission in the neighborhood? Focus on that. Identify what are the objectives you want to achieve in development, which again, you have a land asset that you want to see maximized or leveraged for greater social impact. Live into that impact through creating a really good partnership.
Yeah, that's right.
I want to get a little bit into more of the city side, which I think is, again, could be interesting, but talk about the impact of parking on affordability.
Yeah, that's often parking will come up as an item when you're talking to a lot of faith groups,
Yes.
and I think it's kind of rooted in that traditional church meets once a week.
Right.
Everybody comes
Yep.
to church on that day,
Yep.
and there's a lot of need for parking and,
Yeah,
and
for a
so
few
forth.
hours on the Sunday.
Yep, and that makes sense. And I know that model is changing, particularly with COVID and
Right, for sure.
virtual and all those other things. But if that's important for a church, that's something to identify early on.
Yes,
And
yes.
an experienced developer once told me, once you figure out the parking, you figure out the project.
Interesting.
And whether
Okay.
you're doing a project
Yep.
that's really downtown near a transit
Yep.
station, or it's more of a suburban development.
Right.
Parking is its own kind of complexity to figure out.
Yes.
So with affordable housing, in general, I would say parking is usually no different than market housing.
Right. For sure.
There tends to be less of a demand for parking the closer you are to transit and downtown cores.
Yep.
There is
Yep.
less of a demand for parking with single households than families. There's less of a
Correct.
demand for parking in rental versus ownership.
Yes.
So if you
That's super
have
helpful.
an affordable housing project that is downtown in the urban core near transit, that's rental, that maybe has a lot of bachelors and one bedrooms,
Yeah.
you can probably do it with very little parking.
Amazing.
But if you're doing, even if it's affordable,
Yep.
and if it's out in the suburbs and not close to transit, you're going to need
parking
that,
for sure.
and other
100%.
things like car shares and
Yep.
all of those things. And with affordable housing, it's the most difficult thing with affordable housing is getting it to pencil out. That's the same with market development, but
100%.
it's harder in affordable housing. But
Yep.
parking can definitely have a big impact on that,
sure.
particularly if you have to put the parking below ground and you're paying that big expense for it.
That's really helpful. And on a similar vein, in terms of heritage buildings,
Mhm.
how does that relate to or mix with affordable housing as well? Because we know a lot of these church sites do have heritage. How does that mix in with affordable?
Yeah, I think it's no different than market development. A lot of things aren't really that different.
Right.
A lot of projects that we've worked on have been with faith groups or acquisition retrofits, and have
Yes.
that element of heritage or adapting what you
Yeah.
have. So I'd say those are considerations that you just have to kind of work out. But in nonprofit or affordable housing, there is many different considerations when it comes to design, in part because to make it financially viable and create affordable housing, you need to get some type of grant or philanthropic donation
Yes.
below market land to
Yes.
create the affordability.
Yes.
And so usually when you're looking to get that support from government, it comes with a number of considerations, primarily around accessibility and climate change or energy efficiency. So I guess as nonprofit groups, they're kind of used to dealing with your design and multiple considerations, whether it's heritage, accessibility,
Yes.
energy efficiency.
Right, which-
all of those are kind of different, but part of what you have to consider.
Yeah, and accessibility and environmental, like those come up often. And again, with heritage and heritage status, it often is a case of working with the city, working with heritage to really determine, again, there's a give and take.
Yep.
And to work that out. But again, if the church is focusing on working that out, it often needs that development partner at the table who's able to say, here's what we want to do. Here's how we want to be innovative for impact. And can there be a give and take within that? So I think it's important, again, to have that partnership established.
Yeah, and the partners can, sometimes have their own priorities.
Right.
So I think
Yes.
that's in almost like a hierarchy of priorities. What I would do is try and identify what is your important kind of missional or financial criteria.
Yep.
Choose a partner that's going to help best achieve that.
Yep.
And then share your secondary considerations.
Share your secondary priorities. Get the first ones really top three. What are
which
they?
is often, finances and affordability. But then below that are things that are common to churches. Accessibility is a big one for them.
Accessibility is big.
Aging population.
It comes up a lot.
Churches usually are very focused on climate change.
Environmental is up there.
They
as well.
want good design. A lot of churches are also really interested in what they can do with reconciliation. So
really important.
All of those are things that
and those are
there's
important.
give and take within each of them.
But it's not that first objective because
or if it is, that's important to know because that can impact, for
sure.
instance, if energy efficiency is your top priority, then that should really dictate which partners you choose. You want to make sure you choose development partners that have experience in doing energy efficient projects.
Yes. Oh, it's so good. Can you talk a little bit about affordability and wait lists? Because I know that churches think, again, that they're the developer so that they can choose.
Yes. Oh, that's a good point.
Who.
Yes. So, Yeah, affordable housing, as I was saying, typically involves some type of government investment,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
comes with conditions. And the conditions, typically one of the big conditions are that you're going to help those that are most in need.
Right.
So
Right.
often when a group comes to us, and this might be a faith group, or I've done a lot of work with groups that want to create affordable housing for seniors or co-housing, and
Yes.
they're talking about their project. And one of my early questions is this a project you want to live in yourself? Because that is an important consideration to separate from the beginning.
Yes.
For instance, if a church is looking to create a project,
because it's on your site.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
If that's not part of your mission,
Yeah, and if you want some of your church congregates to live there, that's an important criteria to establish at the beginning. One of the things to know, though, is that when you're usually getting support from any or multiple levels of government to create affordable housing, they'll want you to go who's most in need, and that's typically determined by a centralized administrative, what they call the wait list.
Right.
Most cities or municipalities have that. Smaller areas, it might not be organized in the same exact way, but there usually is some pre-established identity of people who are already on social welfare assistance, or maybe they're living with relatives but they can't afford to live on their own and they're waiting for that affordable apartment to come up. And so when groups get the government support, they can't just house whoever they want to house.
Right.
The conditions come from the funding that they get.
Yep. And so if you go down a church, as we want a theme around, we want to provide housing for arts, for artists. We don't want them moving out of the center of town. We want to provide housing for them. It is in the affordable category, seniors housing. If it's around a theme or a people group, is that possible?
Yes, it is possible, but there's a lot of kind of caveats to that.
Yeah.
I'll maybe just explain a few high-level ones. Is one, just to say, a lot of this depends on what city or municipality or province or territory you're living in.
Right. Okay. So the region matters.
Yes. So except for Ontario, I'll come back to Ontario. Except for Ontario, affordable housing and homelessness is governed by the province or territory.
Okay.
In the province of Ontario, it's governed by the municipality.
Interesting.
In smaller rural areas, they group that in regions. They call service managers, so it might be several counties together.
Yeah.
But it's not the province. So, for instance, in Ottawa, when you're looking to create affordable housing, if you were looking to create affordable housing that might house senior artists, you need to go, if you're getting support from the city and maybe the province and maybe the feds, then you need to kind of go and talk to those different levels of government and the appropriate
And they need to agree to the funding of that.
That's right. So I do know in some provinces or municipalities, they're more flexible to scripting the projects to specific demographics.
Okay.
And other municipalities, they want it to be a bit more generic.
Right.
And I would say sometimes it's good to have projects that are really focused on particular demographics because you can serve them better when it comes to supports.
Yep.
And sometimes municipalities or provinces don't want to necessarily focus on one demographic because priorities shift over time. And
of course.
If they have to keep changing that. So it really does depend. But I do know, for instance, because you mentioned this as an example, there is a group in Canada called PAL that was created by Christopher Plummer, and it has several PAL chapters across the country. It's PAL stands for the Performing Arts Lodge.
Okay.
And it's a nonprofit that was created to help provide affordable housing for aging artists in the community. And there is a PAL project in Ottawa where they're partnering with Ottawa Community Housing.
Very good. So as we wrap this up, you are, talking to, Jeff or Jane are kind of our board member titles and names. So you're talking to a Jeff or Jane and they are listening in. What would you tell them? They are on a church board. Churches is, leaking finances, deferred maintenance on their building, may have heritage or not, but they're sitting here going, what do we do? Overwhelmed with looking at the state of the building, the state of the congregation in which they're in. What would you tell them? Where would they start? What would be the first thing that they should consider before calling you, because they need to have some conversations, and often that's not happening, and they just call us in panic. What should they consider before calling you?
So I think this is kind of probably going to go back to some of the stuff we discussed, but most of the groups really need to think about the prioritization of what they're looking to achieve, and usually that generally fits into three categories.
Yes.
One is related to the state of their building.
Yep.
Two is related to their financial circumstances or viability of the church.
Yep.
And three is the mission.
Okay.
And that's usually affordable housing or the other things. So it's kind of trying to understand
Clarify
sometimes
those. Have those internal conversations.
That's right.
What are priorities? Which way is mission number one?
That's right.
Then financial sustainability and at what degree and level?
Yep, that's right. And so usually they're trying to achieve a combination of all three of those things to different degrees. For sure. But trying to understand, first of all, what is it you're looking to achieve in each of those?
Yep.
And I think just because I'm focused on affordable housing, I think the other thing just for them to note is that everybody has a different definition of affordable housing. So if they talk to a local nonprofit, and they also talk to a local market developer, both of them might use the term affordable housing, but typically what the nonprofit means is something that's really deeply affordable. That might be people coming off that wait list, people who are formerly homeless, that need supports and an affordable place to live. And typically what a market developer thinks of with affordable housing is just something that is below the market of what they could charge. It might not be affordable enough for somebody to come off the wait list. So I think, first of all, think about your three buckets of priorities, and then within the missional one, because they're focused, or what we're doing is focused on affordable housing, is to be really clear on when they say affordable housing, what do they mean? Some groups, for them, what they really mean is rent geared to income and deeply affordable.
And deeply affordable. Again, we're looking at support housing.
That's right. And other faith groups, what they're looking at is just an affordable place for some of their congregants to live as they age in place.
Right.
And that might, not be a high-end condo, but it also could be what, a market developer might just call a market building, just not built to to a high-end audience.
The last question is an important one, because what I feel is churches get stuck in putting their objectives, and they've got this, what they think is a path forward. And then they're offered a large sum of money by a developer just for sale. What is the value of staying in the deal as a joint venture partner, where they're part of a larger partnership model? Because again, you can have all the objectives laid out as beautifully as you want, and then you see 8 million. And you go, oh. But they're not thinking past that 8 million to see what you could, if you actually stay in as a partner, what could that mean to you? And what way should a church go to? And it's not that sale's bad. How would you frame that or answer that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the longer you stay in, the more involvement and opportunity for influence you have.
Right.
And then the shorter you're involved, the less. So if you think about on the affordable side, the longer you stay in, and the more you're able to contribute your land at a below market cost, the stronger influence you'll have on what nonprofit group and what type of affordable housing you can create. Or if you're focused on financial stability, the longer you stay in, the more financial return you can get. But with time comes risk, or with that involvement and effort.
And they need to know that. Again, in clarifying your objectives, development's slow. So if you have high risk, meaning we got 5 months left, maybe you want to consider different options based on that.
That's right.
If you have more of a long-term play within the community which you're in, staying in might be a better option for you to really get the return of investment, both missionally and financially.
Yeah, and I think a lot of groups, when they first come to chat, they want to know timelines. And so, a common question is, we're chatting now, and how quickly could we have a building there where people live that's affordable, or on the other side, a building there where we get money from it if it's market. And I think the short answer is probably 5 years or longer.
Right, which is so like, and we always say it's 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
So again,
So if it's less than that time period,
which again is why it's so important to have your values identified,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a marriage relationship.
Yeah.
So if you're marrying someone for the next 5 years who does not share
Mm-hmm.
your values, it's going to be a long 5 years.
Yeah.
Which is why that relationship and seeking out the right partner is so critical.
Yeah, and I think if your timeline is less than 5 years, that's where you probably want to be.
That's where you may
about
want to think about
moving
other
quicker.
alternatives.
Yeah, that's right.
Graham, it has been amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for participating. Hopefully this was informative for you, and we look forward to having you on our next session.